as not a sprint, but we're in a marathon. We're in a marathon. And so welcome to the days ahead as we're in day 6. You know, the headline on the Globe and Mail newspaper was Ottawa to unveil $30 billion aid package. And a little further on, maybe I don't know if you read this or see this, but the country needs one voice and one message. I think we're all beginning to realize the seriousness of this, and I don't want to stay on this, but that's part of practicing a spiritual practice, or being present of breathing life, is it includes everything. We don't push stuff away. We don't try to deny it. We try to work with skillful means in whatever situation we find ourselves. And maybe if you're at home, you might feel like Dennis the Menace. In Dennis the Menace, this is gender specific. It could actually be the female gender that's home, or the masculine gender that's home, or you're in a same-sex relationship. But it's like, they said, well, I had a hard day at work, and the person at home said, well, you should have seen what it was like here. I can't read the writing. It's on my monitor. It's too small. But you get the point. Maybe that's how you're feeling at home. For me, I looked outside this morning, and I saw this picture of a tulip coming through the snow. And it just helped me. It helped me to realize that there is always new life coming out of the winter. And I hope as we journey together on these spiritual practices for tough times, that we can see that no matter what's happening in our life in the winter of anything, is that there are these moments of new life. Like life is always breathing, if you want to call it divine or God or higher power or presence or light, that this is always, there's something always breathing through the change. That change, or if you want to talk about death, death is not the end. We think of it as annihilation, but it's just change. There's always something happening. So how do we let go into this presence we've been experiencing maybe just for a little bit? How do we trust in the sacred flow of life? Well, it reminds me of the quote from James Finley, that God is a presence that protects us from nothing, even as God unexplainably sustains us in all things. Even though I'm behind the camera here, and we're not connected physically, we are connected. Even in all that's happening these times, I want us to know that we are loved, that we are held. And so I'm still sort of on the first line of the Lord's Prayer, that in ancient times we translated, and even in modern times in a very patriarchal way. But one way to look at how we could translate that line is breathing life, in which we live is everything and everywhere. This breathing life is in me and you, in the situation, and it's breathing in us so that we can work with it and find new ways to work it, find ways to connect it, and get through it. It reminds me of this video of Richard Rohr. What does it mean to find ourselves working and becoming aware of this breathing life force? What do you think God is on about?
God is into giving away God. That's all God's doing, is giving away God. There's nothing else. That's God's job description. I want to give away some more God. And God is trying through every metaphor, every act of creation, every moment of time to reveal a little more of God. And darn it, God has the hardest time giving away God. It's like we create barriers and obstacles and racetracks, and it just breaks your heart. And I'm sorry, I'm a priest, but the worst ones are clergy because it keeps us in business. I know I'm talking cynically, but it keeps us in business to keep explaining the obstacles and the racetrack and well, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to believe, and you got to read this translation of the Bible, and the true Greek says this, and it's everywhere. It's all the time. So a good teacher is basically not telling people what to see, but teaching people how to see. And all you got to do is teach people how to see, and then they'll see it. If we had taught people how to see, which means largely getting your own agenda out of the way, your own fear, your own anger, your own limitations, it means you got to become very small and very humble and recognize that my seeing is always partial. Always partial. And what's in the way is me. Once someone learns that, it's like that man who drove to visit me this morning. I don't know anything. I don't know anything. And then I see everything. If you can keep that.
Learning to see. For me, that's what a spiritual practice is about. It's learning to see. Learning to see that right here and right now, there is wholeness in the midst of imperfection and fragility and joy and beauty. It's all here right now and held in unity and wholeness. And that's maybe the key. That's maybe the key as we're in this second episode, is that to realize that we can only breathe in this wholeness and this unity and this breath of life right now and right here, right where you're sitting or lying down. It's not in the past and it's not in the future. And that's maybe why we're feeling sometimes, or at least I'm feeling sometimes, so unsettled, is because we're losing control of that as things change. And that happens in our lives often in many ways. When we have great suffering, when we lose a loved one or a job or a divorce or all sorts of things, those moments of suffering, we find out we're not who we thought we were. It sort of awakens us to this present moment and that we can't live in that. Or sometimes when we have great love, when you fall in love or beauty grabs you and takes you for a spin, or even sometimes success, we fall into this wholeness. But it really takes some conscious effort. It takes intention. It takes consent. And in this way, this next video by Philip John Newell, who's really practices Celtic spirituality, says is that we can only find this living breath, this sacred flow, this presence now and here.
How do we find that other half of the soul, and what kind of new eyes and new ears does that bird?
I think the real heart of growing into our maturity or growing into our fullness, the real heart of it is this moment. It's right now. Right now I can choose to bring my heart into attention to you and to the beauty of what we're in the midst of, into the sounds and activity of the city. Right now I can be present to all of this, and in that act of presentness I can choose to be true to you and to this context in terms of my attentiveness, and in another 30 seconds I'll need to make the same. I need to make that decision again, and that is, will I be true to you and to everything I'm in the midst of, or will I think that I can be well just by looking after my ego self? So that I think that the real heart of well-being is now. And often in the West we've got sort of trapped into this linear process, and we've applied it even to the journey of well-being, so that we've thought, well, at some point, 5 years down the road, or 10 years down the road, I will be more myself because I will have done X, Y, and Z. And of course, there's a lot to be said for disciplining ourselves towards a particular vision, but we can get trapped into that system, so that we end up avoiding or forgetting that right now is the time of peace. Right now is the time of fullness of my being. And I love what Thich Nhat Hanh says when he says, we all have an appointment with life, and the time of the appointment is now, always now.
I love what he said. Our appointment is now. That peace and our wholeness and life is now. I don't know, how do you react with it? How do you feel about that? Right now, as I talk with you and you're at home, maybe with kids running around or by yourself, or as you listen to later, this is where we're at right now. And it holds everything. There is peace in this moment. So I'd like to end our time together with doing our 15-second breathing practice that we started yesterday, just as a way to just come into this appointment with life, with your life, with my life, with our life, the way it is right now, and hopefully to find a peace that passes all understanding, no matter what's going on in our minds right now and what may happen after we're done watching this or in the days ahead, that we can be present. And being present, we can know there's breathing life within us. And knowing that there's breathing life within us, then we can act more from compassion and from service and caring for us as a community, and compassion for ourselves and love, instead of fear and scarcity and anxiety and panic. So just to remind you, in this 15-second or 15, it's a little more than 15 seconds, this 15-second breathing practice is, I'm going to count for you, so we're going to breathe in, and then we're going to breathe out, and maybe our breaths will become slower, and we're going to do it at least for 15 times. And what I might do is begin by ringing the meditation bell, and then we might do it twice today, and then we'll ring it to end. So again, you might want to close your eyes. You might want to just sit with your feet on the floor and just become comfortable. And we'll begin our practice now. So we'll begin. Take a breath in and feel it filling your lungs, and then breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Just keep your eyes closed. Just feel your whole body now for a moment. Feel your feet, your big toe and your little toe. Feel the crown of your head. Just feel your breathing as you gently inhale and exhale. Allow whatever emotions you need to be present to just be there, and know that we're all precious in our fragility, and there's no need for us to be perfect in any way. Whatever is happening right now for you is okay. And as I ring the meditation bell, you may want to just take a moment and then slowly open your eyes. And as you open them, what do you see? Maybe is there some beauty in front of you? Do you feel joy? Do you feel the sense of connectedness? So I encourage you, as we come to the end of our second episode, you might want to use this practice if things become too much for you during the day. You can do it in silence. No one needs to know that. You might be at your sink washing dishes, and there is something happening in your life that just feels too much, that you just begin to count your breaths as you breathe in and breathe out. Or maybe you're going to Costco and there's a lineup around and you're worried about what may happen. Well, breathe. This can be used anywhere and at any time in any situation. So thank you again. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your presence and for this time to connect. Thank you for your patience with our streaming. We are building it. We do have a few bugs that happen every once in a while. We're all learning together. I'm learning together what it means to look at the camera and be present to you, and not hopefully be too shifty-eyed as I'm looking at my tech people, wondering what they're doing behind there. So thank you again. I also want to say thank you to the Work of the People, The Work of the People, for the videos we used. All rights are reserved to them. And I hope to see you again tomorrow on Thursday, March the 19th, as we come back for episode number 3. May you be blessed. May your mind be quiet. May your heart open to breathing life, which is your life, your family's life, the life of our world and our neighbors. And may you be safe. May you be smart. And I like to say during these times, may we use common sense and be practical. Thank you, and take care.